Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. It seems like with AI exploding, everyone's looking for the next big thing in semiconductors.
Definitely a hot sector right now.
So we're going to unpack Onto Innovation today.
Ticker symbol ONTO.
Onto Innovation, they've been on a bit of a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, their stock hit a high of $238.93 in the past year, but closed yesterday at $180.03.
So is this a buying opportunity or are alarm bells ringing? What I find really interesting is Onto Innovation just dropped their Q3 earnings report.
Right.
And they beat expectations.
They did.
$1.34 earnings per share. The street was only predicting $1.31.
Exactly. And you know what's got analysts buzzing even more than that?
More than beating earnings.
Yeah, their projected revenue.
Oh, okay.
Potentially $1.15 billion in 2025.
Wow.
That's a 22% year-over-year growth.
So maybe this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Could be.
Okay, so exceeding expectations in a market that's absolutely set to explode.
Right.
By 2025, the global chip market is projected to be worth $697 billion.
I mean, that's huge.
That is huge.
A lot of chips.
So is this a clear buy signal?
Well, if you just look at short-term moving averages, the 8-day and 20-day, they're flashing by.
Okay.
But then the 50-day and 200-day moving averages, those are pointing towards sell.
Oh.
And then, to add to that, the relative strength index is sitting at a pretty neutral 51.1.
So mixed signals.
Yeah, a bit mixed.
But that's what makes this so interesting, right?
Absolutely.
Short-term indicators saying one thing, longer-term trends maybe painting a more cautious picture.
You really got to look at it from all angles.
What do you make of that discrepancy?
Well, it's fascinating because this divergence could really reflect just the uncertainty surrounding Onto Innovation. Think about it. Their Q3 report was good.
Right.
Met expectations.
Yeah.
But the stock still dipped 13% right after.
Wait, it went down? Why?
It can be a bit counterintuitive sometimes.
Why would it go down after a positive earnings report?
Sometimes, even when a company performs well, it's just not enough to meet the market's expectations, which can be, well, very high.
So investors might have been hoping for even more.
Yeah, maybe an even bigger beat. Or there were concerns about future growth that weren't really addressed in the report.
So not always rational, this market.
Sometimes.
But then, the very next day, January 4th, the stock bounces back, surging over 5%. It's a real roller coaster.
It is.
What explains that sudden shift?
It seems like there were two main drivers for that surge. First, some really positive analyst coverage came out, painting a very rosy picture of Onto Innovation's future. And second, well, whispers, of some potentially huge deals in the pipeline.
Rumors.
Just rumors at this point, but even the hint of a major deal can really send a stock soaring.
Investors getting excited.
Oh, yeah.
So what are the analysts actually saying? Give us the lowdown.
Okay, well, Oppenheimer's particularly bullish.
Right.
They're setting a price target of $275. Now, Needham, they're a bit more cautious, a target of $230.
Still good.
Oh, yeah, very good. But overall, the consensus seems to be, leaning towards buy.
Buy. Of course, every investor has their own risk tolerance. It's important to do your own research before jumping in.
Absolutely. One of the things that stands out to me is that Onto Innovation isn't just riding this semiconductor wave.
Right.
They're actively shaping it.
Okay.
They've been making some really strategic moves to expand their reach.
Oh, I like that. I love a company that isn't afraid to make bold moves.
They're not afraid to make moves.
Tell me more. What kind of moves are we talking about?
Well, for example, they recently acquired Lumina Instruments.
Okay.
And that is a pretty significant move, especially in the world of semiconductor manufacturing.
I'm intrigued. Why is this Lumina acquisition so important?
Well, Lumina specializes in something called optical metrology. Basically, it's the science of using light to take super precise measurements. And in chip manufacturing, where we're dealing with features measured in nanometers, you need that level of precision.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's absolutely critical.
So all about the quality, the accuracy of those chips.
Exactly.
It makes sense that Onto Innovation would want to bring that expertise in-house.
Absolutely.
They didn't stop there, though, did they?
No, they didn't.
What else?
They also acquired a big chunk of Kulicke and Sofa's business.
Oh, wow. Okay. 2 major acquisitions in a short period. They're not messing around.
Nope.
What does this Kulicke and Sofa acquisition bring to the table?
It gives them a bigger footprint in the market for advanced packaging and assembly technologies. So think of it as like the stage after the chip manufacturing.
Okay.
It's where those tiny chips are packaged connected to other components to create the final product.
So they're not just making the chips, they're involved in putting those chips together into actual devices,
Right.
expanding their role in the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
So these acquisitions, are they a sign of smart expansion, or are they taking on too much risk?
Well, that's a good question, and it's one we'll delve into. We'll weigh those pros and cons, but first, let's take a quick break.
You know, it's funny. These acquisitions, they highlight how Onto Innovation is focused on the less glamorous stuff,
Right.
the essential aspects of semiconductor manufacturing,
Okay.
like inspection and metrology.
That's true.
Not as exciting as like the chips themselves.
It's easy to forget about that stuff.
Right. But it's so important.
Yeah, why is this area so crucial?
Well, think about it. As chips get smaller,
Hmm.
more complex,
Yeah.
that margin for error shrinks like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking features measured in nanometers,
Wow. Hadn't really thought about it like that.
billions of a meter.
Yeah.
Tiny, tiny imperfections can just PFT ruin a chip.
So how does Onto Innovation address this?
They've invested a ton in developing really sophisticated tools,
Like what?
advanced optics, lasers,
Okay.
powerful
So
algorithms.
they're not just building the chips.
They're making sure each one's flawless.
Gotta be perfect.
That's a powerful value proposition,
Oh, for sure.
especially in a market where reliability is like everything.
It's everything.
It's like they're saying, we'll help you build the most advanced chips, but also they'll be perfect.
guaranteed.
And it's got to resonate with customers.
Oh, yeah. Especially those pushing the boundaries of, AI, that kind of stuff.
So on the innovation
Mhm.
is shaping the future of technology
In a way, yeah.
by ensuring the quality of those chips.
The very foundation.
Okay, back to the acquisitions. Lumina, Kuliki, and Sofa.
Right.
What's the strategic thinking there? What are they trying to achieve?
It's all about broadening their capabilities, expanding their reach in the semiconductor ecosystem, Lumina, that strengthens their position in optical metrology.
Right, which is essential.
Absolutely.
And Kuliki and Sofa.
That expands their presence in the advanced packaging and assembly market.
So they're becoming like a one-stop shop for these manufacturers,
Ex-
offering like a whole suite of solutions.
From chip design to final assembly.
That's got to be powerful,
Oh, it is.
especially as the industry gets more complex.
More specialized, yeah.
But is there a risk of, like, trying to do too much?
That's always the question with acquisitions, right?
Could spreading themselves too thin backfire?
It's possible, but onto innovation's case,
Yeah.
these moves seem really carefully considered,
Okay.
strategically aligned, I'd say.
So they're not just, like, randomly buying up companies.
No, they're filling specific gaps,
Okay.
positioning themselves for future growth.
Like they're building a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Each acquisition is a piece
Exactly.
that fits into the bigger picture.
I like that analogy.
Now, zoom out for a second.
Okay.
What are the big trends and challenges shaping the whole semiconductor industry?
The big picture.
What should investors be paying attention to?
Well, one of the most significant trends is just the demand.
Mm-hmm.
The soaring demand for these specialized chips, those designed for AI high-performance computing.
Right, and that plays right into Onto's strengths.
It does. They're at the forefront of developing those tools.
Manufacture those very chips.
Exactly.
But it's not all smooth sailing, is it?
No, definitely not.
What are the challenges?
Well, we've got the chip shortage.
Right.
That's been a major issue.
Not going away anytime soon?
I don't think so. The demand is just outpacing supply,
Okay.
driving up prices, creating delays.
And so on one hand, good problem to have.
If you're a semiconductor company, yeah, high demand, good business.
But on the other hand,
A lot of pressure to keep up.
to keep up, yeah.
Immense pressure to ramp up production,
Right.
maintain that pace of innovation.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Well, the increasing complexity of chip design, we
Yeah.
talked about those shrinking tolerances.
Right.
That requires even more sophisticated tools.
It's a lot to handle.
It is.
So, incredibly complex technology,
Mhm.
global chip shortage, intense competition.
Lots of moving parts.
What advice would you give to investors considering this sector?
First and foremost, do your research. The
Uh,
semiconductor industry is complex.
mhm.
Understand the players, the technologies,
Right.
the major trends.
Don't just jump in.
No.
I
Think
see.
long term.
Okay.
This industry is cyclical. There will be ups and downs.
But don't get caught up in the short term.
Exactly.
Anything else.
Diversify.
Ah, yes. Always good advice.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Spread that risk.
Across multiple companies.
Makes sense.
Subsectors even.
Okay, so where does Onto Innovation fit into all of this?
Well, they seem to be well-positioned
Okay,
to
good.
thrive in this environment.
They're ticking the boxes.
I'd say so.
But no investment is without risk, as you said.
That is true.
Right. We always encourage listeners to do their own due diligence.
Absolutely.
So let's bring it back to the original question.
Okay.
Onto innovation, buy, sell, or hold.
The million-dollar question.
We've seen a lot of positive signs. We have strong earnings, a booming market, strategic acquisitions, bullish analysts.
Right.
But we've got to acknowledge those risks.
Of course.
Volatility, integration challenges, past performance isn't a guarantee.
You've summed it up perfectly.
It's complex.
That's very complex.
So how do we make sense of all this information?
Well, that's where your own research and your own risk tolerance come into play.
Right. No one-size-fits-all answer.
Definitely not.
Each investor needs to think about their own circumstances.
Absolutely.
Let's look at Onto's stock dip after that positive Q3 report.
Okay.
What can we learn from that?
Well, I think it shows how investor psychology can play a big role, sometimes overshadowing the fundamentals.
Right. They met expectations, but
maybe not enough.
investors wanted more.
They wanted more, yeah.
Penalized for not exceeding expectations.
Kind of, yeah.
And then the stock surged back up.
Right. Positive coverage, those rumors.
Sentiment can shift so quickly.
It can.
So how do investors navigate that volatility?
Well, you can hold tight, especially if you believe in the company long term. But you also got to stay informed, watch the news, the analyst reports.
So conviction, but also flexibility.
Exactly.
Sticking to the plan, but being ready to adjust.
That's it.
You mentioned Oppenheimer's $275 price target. Needham's $230.
A little more cautious.
How should investors interpret those different opinions?
Well, analysts don't have crystal balls.
Right.
They're making educated guesses.
Based on their analysis.
Exactly. They're providing insights.
But the final decision rests with the investor.
Always.
So take those opinions with a grain of salt.
Yes.
Do your own research, form your own conclusions,
Absolutely.
and don't forget the company itself.
Right. Onto Innovation's management team has been pretty transparent.
About their strategy. They're focused on those high-growth segments.
Investing in innovation, making strategic acquisitions.
Clarity and direction.
It can be reassuring for investors.
Okay, now let's focus on that Lumina Instruments acquisition. Crucial part of strengthening their position in inspection and metrology.
It is.
Tell us about Lumina Instruments. Why were they so attractive?
They're a leading provider of optical metrology solutions, specifically for the semiconductor industry.
Okay.
High-precision instruments using light to measure chips.
During the manufacturing process.
Yep, dimensions, shapes, all the critical parameters.
They're like the quality control experts.
Essentially. Yeah.
And Onto brings that expertise in-house.
Exactly, a more complete solution.
Smart move.
I think so.
More compelling value proposition.
Definitely.
But any acquisition has challenges, right?
Oh, for sure.
Integrating Lumina, what hurdles might they face?
Well, you're merging two companies.
Different cultures.
The different systems, processes can be complex.
So it's not just about the technology.
No.
It's about the people, too.
The people, the processes.
Making sure it all meshes well.
Creating that unified organization.
Now let's talk about advanced packaging and assembly. What is that exactly?
It's all the processes after the individual chips are made.
Okay.
Packaging them, connecting them, creating the final circuits.
So putting those tiny chips together.
Into functional units, yeah.
And why is this getting more important?
Several factors, really.
Oh, yeah?
Chips are getting smaller, more complex.
Right.
Need more sophisticated techniques.
To keep up.
Exactly.
What else?
Demand for more powerful, energy-efficient devices. Advanced packaging helps with that.
By integrating components more closely?
Exactly.
Anything else?
Yeah, the trend towards more specialized chips.
Like for AI.
And high-performance computing.
And advanced packaging supports that.
It allows for more flexible designs.
So it's a crucial part of the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. More important than ever.
How's Onto Innovation approaching this?
They're investing a lot in it.
Okay.
Making acquisitions to bolster their capabilities.
What kind of solutions are they offering?
Wafer-level packaging. That's packaging chips while they're still on the wafer.
Interesting.
And 3D packaging.
Oh, wow.
Stacking multiple dies to make more compact chips.
So much innovation happening.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Driven by that demand for more power, more efficiency.
Exactly.
Okay, let's shift gears. Talk about onto innovation's financials.
All right.
We've talked strategy, technology, but how are they actually doing?
Financially.
Revenue, profitability, growth.
They've been doing pretty well.
Okay, good.
Revenue has been growing steadily.
We talked about that projection, right?
Yeah, $1.15 billion in 2025, 22% growth.
Profitability, too.
Improving, higher margins, good cost management.
That's great to hear.
It is.
But what about the future? What could impact their growth?
Well, the semiconductor industry, it's influenced by a lot of factors.
Right.
Global economy, tech advancements, geopolitics.
Always some uncertainty.
Always.
But are there any positive indicators?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like what?
Semiconductor demand is expected to stay strong, driven by AI, cloud computing, 5G, all that.
And Onto's positioned to benefit from that.
They are. They have the technologies and solutions.
So they're riding a wave of growth.
I think it's safe to say that.
But of course, there are always risks.
Always.
Competition, new challenges. But Onto's got a good track record.
Innovation, execution, customer satisfaction.
They adapt and evolve.
They do.
So it's not just where they are today.
No.
It's their ability to stay ahead.
In a rapidly evolving industry.
Exactly. That's what investors should be looking for.
Long-term prospects.
Okay, let's go back to that stock dip after the Q3 report.
Okay.
Positive report, but the stock went down.
Yeah, sometimes the market doesn't react the way you'd expect.
Why would that happen?
Well, investors can have really high expectations.
Even higher than what the company delivers.
Sometimes, even when the results are strong.
So Onto met expectations.
They did.
But maybe investors wanted more.
More.
And then a few days later, the stock went back up.
Analyst coverage, rumors.
Sentiment is fickle.
It is.
What's the lesson for investors?
Don't get too caught up in the short term. Focus on the long term. Have conviction.
All right, let's talk about risk.
Okay.
What are the risks of investing in Onto?
Well, like any investment, there are risks. Market volatility, competition.
Yeah.
Technological obsolescence.
Okay.
Execution risk. Geopolitical risks.
Let's break those down.
Right.
Market volatility, what does that mean for Onto?
Well, the semiconductor industry is cyclical.
Okay.
Demand fluctuates, based on the economy, technology, consumer spending.
So the stock price could go down.
It could, yeah. It's important to have that long-term perspective.
Okay, what about competition?
It's fierce. Lots of big players.
Like who?
Applied Materials, ASML, KLA, Lam Research.
Big names.
Big names, yeah.
So how does Onto compete?
They focus on niche markets, offer innovative solutions, build those strong customer relationships.
So not trying to be everything to everyone.
No, they play to their strengths. It is.
Okay, technological obsolescence.
Yeah, that's a constant threat in this industry.
Things change so quickly.
They do. That's why R&D is so important.
To stay ahead.
Absolutely. It's a race.
Execution risk. What's that about?
Well, they're growing fast, making acquisitions.
Right.
They need to integrate those effectively, manage costs, keep innovating.
So execution is key.
It's everything.
And lastly, geopolitical risks.
Yeah. The semiconductor industry is global. Lots of interdependencies, vulnerable to tensions, trade disputes.
So something happening in another country could impact Onto.
It could, yeah.
Like those U.S.-China trade tensions.
Exactly. Could disrupt supply chains, increase costs.
It's a lot to consider.
It is.
We've covered a lot today. Onto's strengths, the risks.
The financials, the acquisitions.
So, final thoughts. Would you personally invest?
Well, as an analyst, I can't really give investment advice.
Right, of course.
Gotta stay objective.
But what's your overall impression?
I'm impressed, I'll say, that their focus on innovation, their customer relationships, the acquisitions.
Solid business.
In a high-growth market.
But
there are risks.
Always risks.
Investors need to do their homework.
Right. Consider their own goals, their risk tolerance.
Exactly.
Onto is compelling.
It is.
But do your research.
Absolutely.
All right. For listeners who want to learn more, where should they go?
Onto's website is a good place to start.
Okay.
Analyst reports, industry news sources.
And of course.
Do your own research.
Always good advice.
Always.
And that's it for this episode of Investing Talk Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope you found this discussion informative.
Very informative.
The semiconductor industry is always changing.
It is.
Stay informed, stay up to date.
Absolutely.
If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe. Share it with your friends.
Spread the word.
Leave a comment. Tell us what you think about Onto Innovation.
We love hearing from you.
We'll be back next week with another episode.
Exploring the world of investing.
Until then, happy investing.
See you next time. And we'll make sure to include links to those resources in the show notes.
You'll find links to On Innovation's website, some analyst reports.
Yeah, and articles about those semiconductor trends.
Give you a good starting point for your own research.
Definitely.
It's amazing how much information is out there.
It is.
But got to be careful, make sure you're using credible sources.
Absolutely. Always double check.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on something we haven't really talked about directly.
Okay.
The human element of Onto Innovation.
Ah, interesting.
We've talked tech, financials, strategy.
Right.
But a company is made up of people.
Very true. It's easy to forget that.
Numbers and technology are important, but it's the people who actually drive everything.
The innovation, the execution, the customer relationships.
Exactly. So as investors, we should think about the management team, the culture, the values.
Absolutely. Those things matter.
What do we know about the people behind Onto Innovation?
Well, their CEO, Michael Plasinski, he's been with the company for over 20 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
He's a respected guy in the industry, proven track record.
So he knows what he's doing.
And from what I've heard, Onto Innovation has a really good culture.
Like what?
They prioritize innovation, collaboration, strong customer focus.
Sounds like a good place to work.
It does.
Solid foundation?
Yeah.
Not just in tech and strategy, but also in their people.
That's important.
Okay, so let's say you're an investor. You're intrigued by Onto Innovation, thinking about adding it to your portfolio.
Big decision.
What are 3 key questions you should ask yourself?
Ooh, good question. Okay, first, does Onto Innovation align with my overall investment strategy?
Makes sense.
Am I looking for exposure to this industry? Do I believe in the long-term growth?
Right, got to make sure it fits your goal.
Exactly. Second, am I comfortable with the risks?
We talked about those, the volatility, the competition.
Got to assess if those risks match your own risk tolerance.
Don't bite off more than you can chew.
And third, do I have confidence in the leadership?
The CEO, the management team.
Do I trust them to navigate this complex industry?
To make the right decisions.
To capitalize on those opportunities?
Great questions to consider.
It all comes back to making informed decisions, right?
Absolutely. Decisions that align with your goals, your risk tolerance, your beliefs.
There's no right answer for everyone.
Well, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
A lot to digest.
Thanks for sharing your expertise.
Happy to be here.
And for those who want to dig deeper, you'll find more information in the show notes.
Links to Onto's website, analyst reports, some interesting articles.
Always do your own research, though.
Don't just take our word for it.
That's right. Explore, analyze, make those informed decisions.
The best way to invest.
And that's it for this episode of Investing Talk Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.